All right. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on Zoom tonight. I know that this is a very atypical way to meet for a class like this, but I know I am personally thrilled to meet in whatever avenue is possible. And so before we start, I want to say that we will be talking about communication. Obviously, at face value, that is extremely broad. So what I wanted to do was narrow it down for you guys. And so what we're going to be talking about is communication in marital conflict. Okay. And basically, the model that we're going to be discussing is based off of Emerson Eggerich's model of love and respect. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are. Are there any questions before we start?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to turn on this share screen real quick. And let's see right here. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna play from the current slide. All right, so this first slide, obviously I've introduced the topic. We're gonna be talking about communication and marital conflict. And by the end of this lesson, this is what you should be able to do. You should be able to describe why men and women differ in communication, identify what personal challenges get in the way of communication in marriage, and then you want to analyze and evaluate some specific strategies that help couples enhance communication in marriage. Okay, so this is the fun part. To get things started, I wanted to get your creative juices flowing a little bit. So we're going to watch a video that is going to exemplify a conflict between a couple. And it's just Emerson talking about a conflict that he had with his wife. But what I want you guys to do is jot down anything that you see notable to discuss. So basically, I want you guys to focus in on how he received what his wife said and how he reacted, and then how she received what her husband said and how she reacted. Does that make sense to you guys? Any questions? Okay. So let's go ahead and play this.
You know, years ago, when Sarah and I were first married, we went from Chicago down to Peoria, Illinois, where my parents lived. It was during the summer, and at that time I wore contact lens, and we drove 3 hours, got there, I'm going to bed that night, and I realized I forgot my contact lens case, and so I thought, well, I've got to improvise here, so I went and got 2 juice glasses. I got up in the morning, poured the water out, put the contact in, got the other juice glass, poured the water out, and there is no contact. I mean, it's not on the lip of the glass. It's nowhere. It is. I looked everywhere. And so I go out, Sarah's with my mom and dad, and I said, Sarah, did you do something with one of those juice glasses last night? I had them on the back of the toilet. She said, no, she said, I did. I got up in the middle of the night and I took a pill. She drank my contact lens.
Oh, no.
I couldn't believe it. I said, I can't believe that you drank my contact lens. She said, well, I can't believe that you would put your contact lens in a juice glass on the back of the toilet. Well, I can't believe that you drink out of a juice glass on the back of the toilet. We were having this heated fellowship moment. We were going back and forth in front of my mom and dad, and Sarah's feeling embarrassed. I was having at her at this moment, and it's heated. And suddenly, Sarah's spirit begins to deflate. At that point in time, it wasn't about the contact lens. Something else was going on in her heart. And it took me a while as a newly married guy to begin to figure out, but I certainly knew that the issue wasn't the issue. Something else was happening in Sarah's spirit, but I didn't quite know exactly what that was.
Okay, so what did you guys think about that?
You know, years ago.
Uh-oh. Okay, so what did you guys think about that video, just starting out real quick?
I think that the issue was that they argued in front of his parents.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Argued in front of his parents. All right,
Well,
anybody else?
I think that he should have just told her, look, I got some contacts that are going to be sitting on the back of the toilet and some glasses. Don't touch them. Because that's not normal to even do that. So you have to communicate abnormal behavior like that. You have to tell, or somebody's going to be drinking your contact lens every time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I agree. Caleb, do you have anything?
I mean, I think that, with the initial reaction, it was initially not very loving towards her because he instantly went at her
Mhm.
rather than, trying to understand her position as to why she had drank it.
Right. So I
It
agree.
was almost like two negatives. They tried two negatives trying to make it right.
Right.
And it just going back and forth just wasn't going to work like that.
Right. Absolutely. You guys are on the right track and I'm so excited. I'm really not that great at working these. Let's see if I can go to the next one here. Okay, so we've asked about what did you find to be a most notable detail. Let's look at this last question. How do you think someone, or hang on, you guys are kind of over here. Can you guys see yourself on the screen?
No.
No. Oh, okay, good. So the question, how do you think something so small in a misunderstanding, such as a contact lens, has the potential to inflate to something bigger like that?
Because he's mad. She drank his contact lens.
Right? Okay. What
But
else?
he's mad because he didn't tell her, I got a juice glass with contact lens on there. And
Right.
why would that even be there? I mean, so, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
He
mean, I
can't
would say
see.
that I probably wouldn't be upset either. Like, why didn't you tell me that there was a contact lens on the back of the toilet?
And if both parties are really stubborn and pig-headed and nobody's willing to back down, it could really escalate into something kind of nasty.
Yes, it can. Yep.
Well, also the tone. We don't know really the tone of voice that he used in that moment. We know what he recorded. That has a lot to do with how you're going to react. Like,
Mhm.
did you drink my contact lens? What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. If you say that in a certain tone, then you're going to get a certain reaction.
Yes.
Yep. I definitely agree. Okay, so
And I'd be like, yeah, I did. I drank it.
okay.
Yep.
So you guys are doing great. This part is super easy. It is a polling, so you might need to get your phone out, or if you're not on a computer, this might be a little bit difficult, but basically you type in the link that is on the screen, just like it is, and it's going to take you to an online poll, and it asks you one question, and all I want you to do is answer with one choice of what you think is the right answer. Okay, so it's one question and you just pick one option. And then I should be able to get the live results of that and we can see what all you said.
I can't do it because I'm on my phone.
That's okay. This is one of those downfalls of having to do stuff on Zoom, but we will make it work for sure. Oh, I didn't type it.
You should have gotten mine.
I did.
What's the address?
I got a one.
Mine's not working, so give me just a second.
I haven't got a 100 in a long time.
P.
Yeah. Oh.
It's not working.
We
Yeah,
can't get into it.
make sure you're typing in the HTTPS, all of
Yeah.
that in front.
I have
Yeah.
that. Let me try it again.
Oh, you should. Really, for me, what I did was I just did surveymonkey.com
Mhm.
/r/P3DYH9P, and it took me straight to it.
Yeah, mine's not working either.
The R.
Well, do y'all have the apps? I wonder if that's it, because I have the app.
Monkey. Did he say he did that?
Mine's just like a blank screen whenever I type it in.
Okay. Well, here's what we'll do. Instead of, trying to figure all that out, I apologize. I thought maybe this would be, a little bit more easy to do, but maybe it's not. So the question is, what do you think the crazy cycle is? Option one was when couples argue all the time. Option number two was a lack of respect and love. And number three was a deficit in communication practices.
Which one?
So
Yeah, we're on now.
Yeah, we're on it now.
Yeah,
Oh, hold on, let me try it.
Okay. Sorry.
probably the second.
Crazy cycle.
What was the third answer?
deficit in communication practices.
I'd say
Say
3.
that one.
This one.
Yeah, that's what I would
Yeah.
say too.
Okay, that's what y'all would say.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Just kidding, mine's still wrong.
Uh-huh.
Well,
So we got
That's what you said.
always go with your first instinct.
Go with your first instinct.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and we'll move on because later in this you'll be able to get the answer. So
Just
I'm not.
kidding, mine worked. I'm sending
That's
you.
what you said.
It's okay. I'm not gonna spoil it just yet.
Good too.
You can go ahead. Okay, so love and respect. Emerson's model is based off of Ephesians 5:33. So I know that many of you are very familiar with Ephesians 5. You know that it is basically the treatise for marriages, and it basically lays out for you exactly how the husband and the wife is supposed to live in order to honor the Lord in their marriage. But his theory is based off of this one verse, which is actually the summation verse for all of pretty much of Ephesians 5. And it says, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So I know, like for me personally, this is something that I probably just glance over. I don't really spend a lot of time meditating on it. And this is why this specific theory kind of blew me out of the water, because once you start to understand this model of love and respect, I really think that it starts to change things. So I'm excited for you guys to learn more about this. And do you guys have any questions so far?
No.
From us.
All righty. All right. So before we start this next video, I want you guys to understand that love and respect are primary felt needs. All right. So what that means is that both the husband and the wife have an actual need for love and respect. So the husband needs to be loved and respected, and the wife also needs to be loved and respected. But what Emerson is about to explain is that it's in the middle of conflict that these actually become primary felt needs. So for the man, it actually is more prominent that he desires respect. And for the woman, she desires to feel loved. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, this next video is going to explain a lot about that, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Okay.
Years back, I made a discovery in the Bible that just kind of blew me away. I had the privilege of studying the Bible 30 hours a week for nearly 20 years as a pastor of a church in East Lansing, Michigan. And I was meditating on Ephesians 5, in fact, actually on verse 33, which is the summary statement to the greatest treatise in the New Testament on marriage. I say Ephesians 5 is that classic passage on husband-wife relationships, and verse 33 is the summary. It is as though this is God's last word to the church on marriage. You know, if my dad was dying, he was on his deathbed, he said, Emerson, come close, come close. You know that the last words of a dying individual are the most important. It's going to come deep from his soul, and he intends for it to go deep into my soul. Well, in a sense, Abba Father has given us his last words to the church on marriage. He's not dying, but in effect, he's saying, come close, church, come close, listen to me. Everything's going to be okay in your marriage. Everything is going to be okay. Well, what are those last words? Here it is. A husband must love his wife. A wife must respect her husband. Because I was meditating on husbands must love, agape love, this is the Greek word there, and the wives are to respect. What happens when a wife feels unloved? I'll bet she reacts in ways that feel disrespectful to her husband. What happens when a husband feels disrespectful? I'll bet he reacts in ways that feel unloving to her. And suddenly I thought, whoa, without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect. And this baby starts to spin. And I called it the crazy cycle. And over the last 15 years, I've shared just that information with people. And I don't know how many people have said, in 2 minutes, you've described 30 years of my marriage. And this is exactly what happens. When the spirit of an individual deflates, most often the wife is feeling unloved, and most often the husband is feeling disrespected. Now, I need to interject here. The true need for love and respect is equal. He needs LOVE. She needs RESPECT. We're not debating the true need. But what we are talking about is the difference between men and women during conflict with regard to a felt need. The felt need is different. We've asked 7,000 people this question. When you're in a conflict with your spouse, do you feel unloved at that moment or disrespected? Get this, 83% of the men, 83% said they feel disrespected. 72% of the women say they feel unloved. That's as different as pink is from blue. The wife is not commanded in the New Testament to agape love her husband. Only the husband is commanded to agape love. That's that unconditional God-like love. Women love. They just love to love at the level of intimacy. So he's not going to command them to do that. And most husbands during conflict know that the wife loves him. He doesn't lack that unless she has said, I don't love you. But he does think that she doesn't like him. That she doesn't respect him. She'll even say, I love you, but I don't respect you. And even though a woman needs respect, if you show her disrespect week after week after week, she begins to say, I love you, you treat me disrespectfully. So it begins to go that direction. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, without love, and this baby spins. Have you had that experience? This is what I believe is the issue when the issue isn't the issue. Is this true? Hollywood certainly would say it. There isn't one movie that ends with the hero embracing the damsel and saying, I want to respect you the rest of my life. There's not one card in the card history from a husband to wife that says, baby, I really respect you. This is a felt need that's different. So here's my question to you. Have you had a conflict recently when the issue didn't seem to be the issue, and you saw the spirit of your spouse deflate? We believe you're getting on the crazy cycle because, right or wrong, she's feeling unloved and he's feeling disrespected.
So, what did you guys think about that?
It's good.
I think it's accurate,
Yeah.
but I don't think that we on the daily think about that in a relationship.
Yeah, a lot of times it's very or like you said, you don't necessarily think about it, but when you're sitting there thinking, hey, what's the issue? The underlying issue is usually and most likely this, hey, she may not feel love. How can I love her? Or vice versa. I don't really feel respected, and you may not think that, but that's, what he's saying is the underlying. I thought that was really cool. And I've never really
Yeah, it is
thought
actually
about it that
true. I
way.
think I like it.
Yeah.
I like the theory of it.
I know the first time that I watched this and studied it, read his book, and I researched more into it, I was kind of blown away just because this wasn't something that I actually put a lot of thought to, and how it actually does affect marriages. And I think that this actually offers up a solution for couples, that is long lasting, and it's actually going to bring about true change, because it focuses more on the heart than it does just having behavior modification. So I just think that it's more long lasting, it's biblical, and it's honoring to the Lord. And so I was personally blown away by it. But I think all of your comments are completely correct. That's not something that in our flesh we're going to sit here and think about. You know, we're not in the middle of conflict. It's kind of hard because we are sinful individuals, right? Right. But the point of this is being able to learn how to identify when you're on that crazy cycle, and what that actually looks like, and why we actually get on that crazy cycle. So like he said, without love, she's going to react without respect, because that is her primary felt need. And without respect in the middle of conflict, he's going to react without love, because he doesn't feel his primary felt need is not getting fulfilled in that moment. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Okay. Why is that playing? Okay. So basically, again, without love, you can kind of see this, how this circles around and it keeps spinning. Without love, she reacts without respect, and then he's going to react without love, and then she's going to react. It's just, that's what the crazy cycle is. So I think it's also important to add in these two things, the pink versus blue. Did you guys notice how he said that? The pink versus blue in the video? Yeah. I see Caleb shaking his head.
Oh.
Okay. So Matthew 19:4, and I have my Bible here. It says, "Haven't you read," he replied, "that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female?" Okay. So God made man and woman equal in nature, right? But he made them different in their roles. So that doesn't make them wrong, it just makes them different. And so, like Emerson said, the male is going to see the world through his blue lens, and the woman is going to see her world through her pink lens, right? And that is why we differ in communication, and the way that we receive things from our spouse differs between the gender, just because we are different, but that doesn't make us faulty. Any questions so far? All right, so this is the cool part. So if we know that we're going to get on the crazy cycle, how do we get off of it, or how do we prevent it, right? So Emerson offers up what is called the energizing cycle. And this is tools and techniques that are proactive, positive, and preventative. So basically, this is going to help husbands and wives either prevent getting on the crazy cycle, because you're going to get on it sometimes. We recognize that. It's either going to prevent it sometimes, or it's going to help you to recognize, hey, we're on the crazy cycle. How can we get off of it? And instead of it saying the opposite on the flip side, it says his love motivates her respect, which will motivate his love. You guys get that? Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So this next slide, trying to move you guys so I can see, talks about an acronym that Emerson, if you research his stuff, he makes this very clear. There's two acronyms, one for the husband and one for the wife, that kind of helps each spouse spell out either love or respect. So this one and you can read through these as I'm talking, but this one is for the husbands, and it's how to spell love to your wife. And the acronym for the husbands is couple, and you can go through here: closeness, openness, understanding, peacemaking, loyalty, and esteem. So all of these aspects are what you should be implementing, or the husband should be implementing, in order to make his wife feel loved, right? So she wants you to be close. She wants you to be open. She doesn't want you to try and fix her. She wants you to be considerate, etc., etc. All of this is kind of hard to remember, but the more that the couples start to practice this, the more that it becomes second nature. All right, so this one is for the wives, and the acronym for the wives is CHAIRS. And this kind of teaches you how to spell respect to your husband. So you can see conquest, hierarchy, authority, insight, relationship, and sexuality. And you can kind of read through there. And again, these are tools and techniques for the wife that she can help implement to help her respect her husband better, and to help him feel more respected. What do you guys think about these?
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
It breaks it down, and it's a whole different, just a different insight.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've never seen before. So
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, we haven't seen this before.
Yeah, I know. Like that was what was so cool to me, because I was like, wow, it doesn't just explain that we get on this crazy cycle, but he actually offers up some specific things to help you, prevent getting on it or to get off of it.
Mm-hmm.
For me too, it kind of showed me where I was lacking in some of these,
Right.
where I can grow.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Anybody else?
I was gonna say, I think you kind of said a key word too, was practice.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So these things don't come on their own.
Yeah, absolutely not. Nope. Okay. So the crazy cycle happens when spouses focus on their own needs and overlook the needs of the other, right? But all of this information that we've kind of talked about will fail to do marriages any good unless both the husband and the wife understand the unconditional element of love and respect. And I think the one thing that helps us kind of understand this unconditional element is taking it back to the Father's love for his children, right? His love for us, we didn't do anything to earn that. It's basically and purely given to us based on grace and mercy alone. We didn't do anything to earn that. And so what can be advantageous is helping couples understand, or even implementing this into our own marriages, is that we are called to love our wives unconditionally, regardless if she's reciprocating that or not. And then wives are called to unconditionally respect their husband, regardless if he's reciprocating it or not. And obviously you can see that I put, unconditional respect does not mean that a wife must be respectful of certain behavior that is dangerous to her. I think all of us understand that. God does not want you to be a doormat, right? But without understanding the unconditional part of it, I think this whole model will fail. Because we say, well, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to do this. If you don't scratch my back, then I'm not going to scratch your back. And so that's putting conditions on it. And it won't work that way. Does that make sense to you guys? Any comments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so one of the last things that I want you guys to do is what I call reflectively journaling. And I just want to give you guys a couple of minutes to write down maybe a couple of things that you would integrate into your own model of counseling, ministry with couples, or even your own marriage. So what you've learned so far, maybe just a couple of things that you would integrate into your own life. And then we'll discuss those. So I'll give you guys like 2 minutes.
I like.
Those are the two key elements there. Yeah.
That's the key thing. Practice what we don't practice it.
Say administrative couples. Show other couples respect and love.
Yeah, because it says your own mom, ministry, couple, your marriage. I'll let you answer. Good stuff. Did she say there was a book? Like, where you read a book?
Mm-hmm.
Did she get the title of the book? Or is that the name
I
of it?
think she has picture time.
Okay, are we good? It looks like most of you guys are finished. We all good?
Good.
Good.
Okay, cool. So if you want to, can you share just what you wrote down? Like, what were a couple of things that you would integrate into your own life?
I'll go first. I put that if you know you're about to have an argument with your spouse, take into consideration how you're going to approach the situation.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, there's a million different ways you can go at it to respect your spouse and make sure you're in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you happen to write down any specific, I mean, obviously you said, right, if you know you're getting into conflict, think about how you would respect him. Did any of those listed strategies that were on the last slide, did those help you kind of figure out some ways that you could do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. That's what I really liked about that, was that he offered us some specific things to think about, like automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I tried to write most of the list down, but I couldn't. I got the keyword, couple, and chair on the slide before the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wrote down of how to implement that was, okay. So in my reality, I would have to use those words, couple and chair, as like code words. So when I started to argue, I would discuss this theory with my spouse and be like, hey, so the next time that we start arguing, if I feel unloved, I'm going to say the word chair. And then you're going to say the word couple. I'm serious, because we don't think about this stuff when we're mad. And normally we don't know when we're going to be mad. That doesn't happen. We just get mad. So I would use that strategy as a code word, couple, and he would use that word. And I would use chair.
Yeah.
And then that would make us kind of maybe stop and think, okay, he needs to have respect and I need to have love. And so maybe we can, just to slow the argument down. We may still have the argument, but it might not go into a crazy cycle if we threw out those code words real quick, like when we were mad, if we could, initiate it by remembering to say that word.
Right.
And then we both stop and think for a second before we proceed any further. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think using those code words kind of as a mantra in the middle of it is a great technique, because that's one of the things that will get you back onto that energizing cycle, because it's helping you notice, hey, we're on the crazy cycle. I need you to think couples and I'll think chairs. And, it helps you to kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself, right?
Right.
But yeah. Does anybody else? That was really good.
Yeah, with us, we came up with like the energizing cycle and the crazy cycle. We were thinking being proactive and positive and preventative. If you practice these principles every day, practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And by putting these principles in a practice form every day, then if if a crazy cycle pops up, it wouldn't take anything just to stop it, because it would always be second nature. If
Yeah.
you just
Right.
practice the love and respect every day,
I
it
agree
will
with
really keep down a crazy cycle.
that. I
Amen.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Practice makes perfect.
It does.
And I think it's just out of just basic respect for each other too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
You
And I
know.
think it goes back to that, the actual need for love and respect is for both spouses. We both need to feel respected and loved. But
Mhm.
if the husband is loving his wife, she's automatically going to feel respected.
Exactly.
And if the wife is respecting her husband, which, men will live and die for honor. So if she is respecting her husband, he's automatically going to feel loved in the
Exactly.
Yeah. Good
Totally
point. I
agree.
like that. That was good. Caleb, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I just wrote down, the big thing, and I boxed it and starred it was practice.
Yeah.
And practice that unconditional love with my wife, not to gain respect, but to, follow the commands that God has given us to unconditionally love one another. And, as he says in Ephesians. And so, because I think so many times, you can get caught in this, well, she's not showing me respect, so I'm going to try to show her love just so that I can get respect. I mean, I feel like if you get in that mindset, your intentions are wrong, and it can still get you into a crazy cycle if you're like, well, you're not, respecting me, so getting angry about it. But if you practice this unconditional love constantly, like you said, it will just come naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, coming off of what you said, that was great, because I think it's important to note you're never going to motivate your spouse to love or respect you by doing the things that make them feel either disrespected or unloved. So I think that was really great point. All right, so
But Katelin,
yes.
the most important thing, you have to keep God in the middle of it.
Yes, you do. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Without him as your foundation, you're on sand and you're going to crumble.
True.
All right, so this is the last thing, and I call this the think, pair, share, which is kind of difficult to do on Zoom, but I think we can make this work. Basically, we're just going to talk about all of these questions just kind of together as we were on the last slide. So the first question is, what is the crazy cycle? And then how does the energizing cycle contrast with it? This is kind of to help you guys pinpoint back of those learning objectives back at the beginning, just to kind of see where you guys are at the end of this.
The crazy cycle is where the man feels disrespected and he acts out of, or he does not act in love, and therefore the woman does not act in respect, and so on and so on, and you go into a big snowball effect of craziness.
Right, absolutely. So how does the energizing cycle contrast with the crazy cycle? How is it different?
The energizing cycle is so much more positive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you practice those positive principles, it will keep down the crazy cycle.
Yes.
It's just more positive. Where the crazy cycle, I guess you could say, is more negative.
I would have to agree.
Yeah, me too.
What can anybody remember what the circle in the energizing cycle said?
It was
Or her love, his love, it motivates
His love, her respect.
respect.
Yes.
Something like that.
I'm so happy. Yes, you guys got it. Yes, his love
Like that.
motivates her respect, and her respect will motivate his love. So it's literally like flipping at 180 from the crazy cycle. Okay, so the next one is, what did you learn in terms of how men and women differ in communication, specifically in conflict? So how do they differ?
Well, as you said, we look at it in two different lenses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Women
Yeah.
look at it in their pink lens, out of they search and they long for that love, whereas men look at it as, hey, I know that she loves me, but does she like me? Does she respect me?
Hmm.
And so we look at it in two completely different ways, and those ways can just continue to clash.
Right.
And we receive the conflict differently too.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
hmm
Yep. The husband will hear in his blue megaphone or in his blue hearing aid what the pink megaphone is saying. And it does make things difficult. But I think when we learn how to not discount our partner's vulnerabilities, it makes things so much different. And it helps with this love and respect on a completely different level. That was good. All right, so last question is, what is one strategy that you found helpful, something that you could help other couples with, or in your own marriage, or in your ministry, whatever that looks like, just one strategy?
Practicing the energizing cycle.
Yes, very good.
That's the big thing.
Okay, anybody else?
I would say practice being intentional with recognizing the other point of view.
Right,
I think that would be something because, like I said just recently, with the two different lenses, you could be looking at something completely different and y'all just may not be on the same page.
yeah,
So that both you, kind of like what Mary was saying, couple, hey, let's realize we're looking at it in two different lenses.
right, exactly. That was good.
Yeah, I like that too. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And also I put down focusing on, I would recommend the cycle, using the keywords, using those as keywords to
Mhm.
start to
Mhm.
implement that into your life if you don't have it in there.
Yeah,
And then focusing on how individually you react to
hmm,
negatives. And so, because if you focus on how you're reacting to something, then you can naturally change the way you are doing it, which will make another person change sometimes the way they're reacting. Over time, it becomes natural, like Pat said, that the practice makes perfect. So even if you're individually practicing it, one person, because you can't make most people do certain things, so if you are, as an individual in the
Mhm.
relationship, take it to practice yourself, by you doing it, it would naturally change the way the other spouse will react too. It can.
Yeah. I mean, because you're almost thwarting the process. If you choose to be respectful to your husband, despite how
Right.
he's reciprocating it, right, it goes right back to that unconditional
Yeah.
the aspect of it. So that was perfect. That's awesome.
Mhm.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to add or talk about? Anything? Are we good?
We're good.
So I think that was, yes, it's the last slide, and I'm trying to get back to you guys full screen. Okay, I literally don't know how to do it.
Go on the top and click stop sharing.
Okay, I see. Thank you, Katelin. All right, so I know, I thought that I was pretty good at Zoom. We can start doing all of this stuff, and I'm like, maybe I could use a little bit more practice. So I apologize for technical difficulties that kind of happened during this. But I thank you guys so much for being a part of this tonight. I hope that you learned something, even just one little nugget of wisdom that could either help a couple that you know, your family, or even in your own marriage. But yeah, I'm so excited, and I hope that there is eternal fruit from this, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. So thank you again.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
You.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.